This is a look at the Panasonic 12-32mm f3.5 to 5.6 mini zoom lens, which comes as the kit lens with the Panasonic GM1, but can be bought standalone for about £300 in the UK. That's a bit more expensive than the other Panasonic compact zoom, the 14-42mm Vario X, with power zooming and focusing. So there's a price to pay in money and a restricted zoom range for the extra angle and the ultra compact design of this lens. I decided to review this lens separately because I found myself using it not so much on the GM1 it came with, but with my GX7, with which it feels just the right size, handles very nicely and looks very handsome. Not that looks influenced me at all, of course. Back to basics. The lens is made in plastic with a metal mount, has a 3-section to 1 folding design for ease of carrying, a zoom ring, effective in-lens stabilization, and no manual focusing ring or stabilization on-off switch. Both those functions are done on the menu in the GX7. The manual focus is with an on-screen slider and pretty tortuous. I couldn't find any way to manually focus with the GH3, by the way. It covers an unusual zoom range of 12mm to 32mm, so from pretty wide to longish standard. When you switch on the GX7, it reminds you to rotate the zoom to extend the lens. I've been using this lens out and about for general purposes, and since I've had it, it has all but replaced my 14-42 zoom on my GX7. I find for the kind of photography I do, the extra wide 12mm is more useful than the extra 10mm of the conventional standard zoom. But I have the luxury of owning a good selection of lenses to supplement this one. Let's take a look at the performance and see whether there are any compromises too far here for the sake of size. Optically, certainly not. The little lens seems to me to be noticeably sharper than the 14-42mm Vario X. And since I have found that lens to be similar in performance to Olympus and Panasonic's more conventional standard zooms, sharper than them too. An unexpected bonus there. The zoom isn't the silky smooth of the 12-35-8, but it's nicely weighted and won't slip. The Mega OIS stabilization is as effective as it always is, as you can see from the London night shots I did to illustrate this video. As an observation, all these shots were at 3200 ISO. With the image stabilization and the latest sensor's low noise, MFT users can now treat nighttime city shooting as little different from daytime. Remember, this is with an f3.5 maximum aperture lens. Focusing is effectively instantaneous in the 2 to 10 meters range I'm using in these shots, and even in the close to far demo here, not far off it. For video shooters, its operation is not only fast, but inaudible too. Flare is well contained, as you can see from this alleyway shot with a light source in it, and what chromatic aberration, vignettic and distortion there is taken care of in software, in the camera, on the basis that what the eye doesn't see, the heart doesn't worry about. In critical shots with straight lines, you will see some residual barrel distortion at 12mm. It's easily enough corrected in post-processing, but most of us won't use a zoom lens at 12mm for situations where we want to avoid distortion at all costs. Here's a portrait shot with the lens wide open, 5.6 at 32mm. Very sharp on the subject, the background is nicely softened. It's not an extreme differential focus, but quite pleasing. I said at the beginning of this review that I was using this lens more on my GX7 than I was on the GM1. That's because I find the GM1 quite limiting for my kind of photography. It's a great little camera, but for my kind of picture taking I want an EVF and a swivelling monitor at least. So the GM1 is a kind of backstop, there when I previously wouldn't have taken a camera. A bit of a luxury actually. But the 12-32mm stands happily alone. It's baggable, sharp and fast focusing. I like to use my GX7 for out and about photography with my two favourite primes, the Olympus 17mm and 45mm. This little Panasonic zoom is so tiny and weighs so little that I'm enjoying slinging it in my shoulder bag when I go out, along with my GX7, mobile phone, umbrella and the like. I'd hardly know whether the lens was there or not. The GX7 has the 17mm f1.8 on it all the time, and the 45mm f1.8 is there in my bag. both top quality lenses and both satisfying to use, so I'll always use those for preference. What the 12-32mm provides is not so much a zoom capability as a 12mm wide angle and 25mm standard lens to fill the gaps left by my two primes. That's why, for my purposes, it is more useful than the conventional 14-42 zoom, which doesn't extend the range far downwards and at the long end duplicates the 45mm. If I was going to have just one lens, I'd still have one of the 14-42s, because while still compact, they will do nicely for portraits, whereas 32mm means getting too close to your subject for a pleasing drawing of the human face. I just have to put up with that back-breaking extra ounce of weight. As it is, the 12-32 complements my primes rather than duplicates them. While the GM1 camera body it came with can solely claim MFT fame for its size, this kit lens would be a sensible standalone buy, even if it was a more conventional size. I'm one of those photographers who is constantly on a quest for the perfect outfit. This lens brings me that little bit closer to it. Thanks for watching.